Hello and welcome to this video where I'm ready to share my newest little fabric junk journal. I call it a junkless journal because the materials are actually quite precious, I feel. I used this gorgeous piece of sari trim for the cover. The gold tie comes down, it's kind of stitched in with the book signature. The boho tassel is removable. I put it on this little clip. And it includes a fun collection of different trims and yarns. The boho bead is those same trims wrapped around some fabric with pure copper wire, this little yellow glass bead, and a Ganesha charm. All the books that I make in the boho style, I like to include Ganesha, especially if it uses Indian fabrics like this one does. Because Ganesha is the remover of obstacles. And so by keeping him on your book, it's meant to ensure that you don't get held back by writer's block, that the inspiration flows, that you have the blessing to achieve what you want to achieve. And so the cover also has this cool bit of blue trim with a bead dangle. If you don't like so much bulk on your books, you can just take off the tassel on its own clip, and you could easily just take some scissors and snip right here. Pardon my kitty, she is being crazy today. I just hope she doesn't attack the book. But yeah, you could easily clip off these little beads. So I adorned the edges with this fun trim that reminded me of jewelry. It looks like kind of layers of a necklace or something. And then inside, I used this purple patchwork boho sort of fabric. Okay, Minu is definitely trying to go after these threads, so I'm gonna have to hold this book carefully before it becomes a cat toy. But I used this purple rose cut off from a piece of sari as a pocket and stuck Saraswathi into that pocket. I mentioned in my last video that in Sanatana Dharma, in what we in the West call Hinduism, but in the sacred tradition of Sanatana Dharma, all books are considered to be manifestations. Please don't lick your bum while I'm filming my video. There she goes. All books are considered to be manifestations of Saraswati. And so by putting her picture into the books, it ensures that her blessings of wisdom and creativity and art and divine understanding are imbued into whoever uses the book. On the front page, I made a tuck spot pocket using this vintage lace. And into that, I added another picture of a Devi. Okay, now both of my cats are on the floor here where I've set up this fabric. I'm gonna try to move them out of the way gently, but if you hear shrieks, it's the two of them fighting. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. But yeah, I put this beautiful picture of a Devi here. The back is blank, so you can use that for writing, drawing, collaging. And this page is backed with this really cool French embossed wallpaper. On the other side of this, I used a beautiful purple ribbon as a belly band tuck spot, and I put this really cool picture I found in an art history textbook into it. This isn't printed out on my computer, this is actually cut right out of an old art history book, and I thought it was a good one to include in a journal because you see the queen sitting here, and one of her attendants is presenting her with a gorgeous book. And so putting a picture of a queen receiving a beautiful book into a beautiful book that may just be received by a sacred queen, it felt like a fitting emblem. And the back of this card, I used more of that French gold embossed wallpaper because it looks a lot like the French gold embossed wallpaper in the queen's stateroom. So we have a French queen here, and on the actual book page, there's an Indian queen there. The next little page has a pocket, and this paper you can either use it or just get rid of it. I just put it there to demonstrate the fact that this is a pocket. And the paper it's backed on comes out of a 70s vintage travel tourism book about Indonesia. And I've got some blue paper. I put a lot of torn edges and raw pages in this book because I love the texture it gives when you look at the book from the side. So if you like things to be perfectly cut and perfectly measured, this might not be the journal for you, but if you like the bohemian flair, the hand-torn edges, and the kind of hodgepodge mix and clash aesthetic like I do, you might just love it. These tropical plants on one side and clouds on the other. I love the sepia tone cloudscape. That's also out of the Indonesian travel book. And we have some lined paper. This coffee dyed paper, I made a little tiny mini pocket that can be a tuck spot. And into that I added this tiny little faux envelope that I folded out of a page that I printed out of the Bohemian collection from Medieval Mirage on Etsy. And so you can use that to write a little letter to yourself or to do with as you please. But I thought that looked really cool, peeking out of that little pocket. Then I put in pretty patterned paper. This page, I wish you could feel it. It's made out of cotton and it is so soft. And this little strip was just a scrap cutting from a page I made for another book. But before I threw it in the recycling bin, I noticed it has this incredible detail from a medieval ceiling. Actually, I think more the Enlightenment era. And so you can see these two figures with a globe on the bottom, queens and such. And it just, again, it fit the vibe of this book. So get out a magnifying glass if you want to look at the details on this one, but I thought it was really cute. And I glued it down and used it the way you might use something like washi tape, even though it's a piece of a book page. The other side of that, I made a flip using a little snippet from that same blue trim that's on the front cover, and that's holding in place this piece of paper that folds down. You can write on it, collage on it, or if you want it just there permanently, you could glue it down as a decoration. And then there's a pocket here that I stuffed full of these little papers. I've got a huge stack of these that I use to write thank you notes to customers when they order from my Etsy shop, and I thought these would make the perfect little stack of papers to fill that pocket. They're exactly the right size. And it's showing northern lights in a snowstorm, which is, I've seen the northern lights a couple of times, once from a plane. My friend Jasmine and I were traveling from Vancouver we flew to Vienna and then took a train to her hometown in Slovakia. And it was one of the most magical trips I've ever taken. So when I see the northern lights or the aurora borealis, I think of that flight to Vienna when I was just so lucky to sit at a window seat on the right side of the plane to see the northern lights in the sky. And I've seen them a few times from Alberta, but the colors are never quite as vivid as they are in prints like this. So yeah, the backs of all those are blank, so you can use them as little note sheets. Keep them in the book, take them out of the book, whatever you wish. Here there's a little storybook illustration from India of this princess with the swan, and I glued that half down so that it can be a tuck spot, and put another one of these Medieval Mirage printouts in it. And the back is blank, so again, that's a place to journal. And you can also use this page for writing, drawing, collaging. It's coffee dyed paper. The back I left totally blank, so I tried to leave enough blank pages that you have room to actually use your journal as a journal. The center signature, I love how this turned out. I hand tore the edges of this cool mandala, kind of neon mandala origami paper. And in the center, I put some really beautiful beads, some that are check glass made with glass canes. And I picked that because the colors looked so similar to the colors on the cover, that blue, like here, the red, the green. So the beads are kind of imitating the cover design. And then these cool blue, I think it's cloisonné, but it could just be standard enamel. But the blue enamel beads really match the dark blue and the turquoise blue. I don't usually try to be matchy-matchy, but sometimes the materials I have on hand just fit with the matchy-matchy theme. Just something to put in that pocket, but of course you could put whatever you want in that pocket. Here you can see some pretty wildflowers that are pressed right into that handmade paper. This lace just seemed to go well with that taupey brown. More coffee dyed paper. Another mini pocket with another piece of that printed paper from Medieval Mirage. More blank paper. The other side of the clouds and tropical plants from the Indonesian book. Then I made this bookmark with a scrap of one of my absolute favorite vintage fabrics. This fabric I found at a thrift store, and I wish I had an unlimited supply because the blue flowers and that 70s vibe it has just perfectly suits the Bohemian aesthetic I'm going for. And then this strip is also printed out from Medieval Mirage, and I backed it on this gold stripe paper that you see kind of throughout the ephemera in the book. So this, you can take it out and use it as a bookmark wherever you want. You can have the fabric sticking out so that it hangs down with or like an added tassel. I left it tucked into the book because I felt like the cover of this little beauty is already ornate enough. It doesn't really need more, but the option is there if you want to use it as extra decoration. Another little pocket with some strips of tracing paper. And that brings us to the very last page where I used more of that French wallpaper. Here you can see that patchwork style purple fabric that's in both sides. I lined the whole cover with it. I just think it is so pretty. And again, it has that exact Bohemian vibe I was going for. So yeah, this fabric, I bought quite a bit of this fabric, thinking that I would cut it into pieces and use it in patchwork designs. But it was so beautiful, I wanted to use some as an entire book cover just on its own. I hope you love it too. So yeah, that's my newest mini eclectic sort of sacred India boho journal with Saraswatis and Ganeshas and queens from around the world. And the way I like to close it, I should mention this closure is permanently sewn in with the signature. I like to tie this right over the tassel and the beads so that they're securely held into place and they're not flopping around too much. So if you want to grab the book and go somewhere, it's all kind of held into place and Ganesha's not going to flop around or hit against anything, and the beads are secure. But yeah, this is a little, it's not as decorated or full as some of my books have been, but I feel like just a little bit of gold jewelry style trim and extra little fabric bits that are sticking out and the beads. It's simple, but it's effective. And I really hope it brings you as much joy as it brought me to make it. So much love to you. I'm wishing you inspiration and artistic ability and talent and enthusiasm and excitement in your journaling adventure. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.